Okay, I'm back. By the way, I'm Lori. If you don't know me, welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining us, and thank you to my subscribers and all of you that normally watch me. I'm glad you're here. Okay, death can be such a difficult time for so many of us. Losing somebody in the physical realm is a really hard thing to take, even if you know without a doubt that there is an afterlife and that person's going to be okay. There's different ways we lose people too that can affect the way that we grieve, that can affect the way that the intensity of it. um, there is like a terminal illness or an illness that is known, and then through the years it's a gradual process, or if somebody crosses over because of old age or like something like that, there's time to prepare. It still hurts, you still miss that person, all of that, but there's time to prepare. And then that's actually where the stages of grief come from. The 5 stages of grief. There was a book, don't quote me, it was On Death and Dying, I think was the name of it, and it was written by a doctor. Let me see if I have her name written down somewhere. I might. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. I think her name was Dr. Ross. Cold. I don't know. Something Ross. Anyway, and she's the one that originally came up with the 5 stages of grief, and it wasn't about grief originally. It was about uh, terminal illness and the process that the person that is ill goes through. And then later, through research and that kind of thing, psychologists said, hey, this kind of matches the process that people go through when they lose someone. And then, some other people brought some other stuff out and added to it. So if you look up like the stages of grief, they're all similar. Some people say there's 6, some people say there's 5, 6, 7, and they're a little bit different. They're all basically the same. Uh, but yeah, they were originally about the terminally ill. So anyway, yeah, if somebody, like if you've gone through their health issues with them, you might even feel a sense of relief when they cross. Not to say that you're glad that they went, but I've heard this over and over by people. They have like a sense of guilt because of the relief. But if you're watching somebody that you love dearly suffer, and each day the suffering becomes, stronger and stronger, and worsens and worsens, and you're gonna feel a sense of relief because you love that person. You don't want to see them suffer. You know. So yeah, there's no need to feel guilty, but I think it's like a natural thing that people go through the guilt because they actually feel relieved. They're tired. They're emotionally tired. They're physically tired from taking care of them. And like I said, it's hard to watch somebody you love suffer. Um, and then we have, like an unexpected passing, a car accident, just a brain aneurysm, or something like that, a sudden heart attack that takes somebody instantly, or within a couple days or whatever. That is a whole other, like the beginning stages, they're difficult. If somebody is, I mean, they're different. If somebody is very young, if a baby dies, or murder, if somebody's murdered, it changes things. Or if somebody's just very young, it seems unfair. All different ways. The bottom line is we're all leaving. We're all going to leave our physical bodies, which are just a vessel so that we can survive here in this physical realm. Don't get too attached to your body. I'm not saying don't take care of it. Take care of it, but don't get too attached to your body because you're leaving that behind. Okay, but the essence of you, the core of you, your personality, your thoughts, you is going. Your consciousness is going. Okay, and it's moving along. One thing that I've noticed, and before somebody crosses over, I've noticed just through my work and my own experiences, because I've lost people really close to me. I've lost friends, I've lost family members, I've lost people to suicide, I've lost people to unexpected death, and I've lost people to expected death. And death is difficult. But one thing that I've noticed through my own experiences watching other people and through the years of studying, is if you have a solid foundation of faith, and you truly believe in God and you truly believe that there's an afterlife, um, not to say you don't grieve, not to say you don't feel sad, not to say you don't go through the shock of it and that kind of stuff, but there is a peace that is found that can't be found for someone who does not have that. And that's a big part of my work, is helping people who are grieving to realize that peace. And how do you realize that peace? Usually it comes quicker through knowledge, not like an awareness and a knowledge, not just a belief, but a knowing that yes, life goes on. Life goes on. It's not final. It's final here, but it's not final. They're still alive, just somewhere else that you don't have access to right now. Okay, um, so before grief, it's a good idea to look into that. If you are of faith, um, is your faith strong? Is it solid? Is it solid enough to, is it unshakable, unbreakable faith, or is it just kind of How important is it to you? Just something to look into. I'm not like sitting here preaching say you must, and I'm not saying you have to learn a specific thing. I'm just saying people with a strong, solid faith foundation find that peace faster or immediately sometimes, more so than somebody who has no belief or no knowing. So yeah, check into how solid that is first. Second, while everybody's here still, everybody that is here, because I know we've all lost somebody already, be aware of how you interact with them. Be aware of what you say. It if you want to say something, say it to that person. Don't leave things up open ended. So often I hear, I said this and didn't mean it, or he or she left and we were in a fight. You don't think about that day to day. When you get in an argument with your spouse, you're not like, come here, I love you, before they slam the door. Because it's human nature. We don't think about that. But if you could, and I don't mean to be morbid and always thinking about death, but remember the value of life and how precious it is, but also how fragile it is. Nobody is any closer to death than anybody else. Even that person that is, terminally ill and everybody knows they're going in a few days, none of us know if we're going to make it till the sun goes down. Okay? I mean, we're assuming we are, we're hoping we are, we live as if we are. But I think we would benefit through the grieving process and the living process, just in general. Relationships would be better, our lives would be fuller, all the way around, if we lived as if we were dying. I think that was a song. But no, seriously, Tim McGraw, I think, live like you were dying. But seriously, or live like somebody else could die. I know I made that joke about, like, if you're in a fight and somebody storms off. I actually I'm not married, but with my kids and stuff, even if I'm mad as hell or if they're mad as hell, I don't know. You don't leave here without a hug and a kiss and I love you. Maybe not the hug and the kiss, depending on how angry you are or whatever, but there's definitely an I love you there. And any issue that comes up is going to be resolved as quickly as possible. You can't change other people, but you can do your part. Whatever is within your power to keep the peace, it should be done. So that afterwards, because once somebody leaves this physical plane, it can't be like, oh, wait a minute, come back, physically. And that just tears people apart, when there's unfinished business. I should have told him how I felt. I didn't, I had a fiance when I was young who died in a car crash, and I was waiting. This is pre-cell phones, and he was supposed to call me when he got out of work, and he was supposed to call me at my parents' house. So I went to my parents' house. I waited. I think I waited like 2 or 3 hours. Of course, it's years ago now. And say he was supposed to call me at 2. I don't know what time it was, but say he was supposed to call me at 2. So I got to my parents at like 1:30, and I waited till about 5. And then I left. And assuming that he just wasn't interested or whatever, because it really, there was a lot weighing on that phone call, because we had just had a discussion about moving forward, getting married, or ending, whatever. And I left brokenhearted, just absolutely brokenhearted. And found out later, the next day, after I already knew that he had died, that he called like 5 minutes after I left. And of course, there was no way to get a hold of me. My dad couldn't tell me, but my dad told me, yeah, you got a call like 5 minutes after you left. And he had no idea that I had waited. It's not like he said to my dad, hey, was she around? No, he just said, hi, is Lori there? No, she's not here. Okay, so we're both total miscommunication. He's thinking, because it was almost like, okay, well, if you're not there, that tells me something. If you don't call, that tells me something. We left it like that. How foolish. We were really young, though. And yeah, he had died. He had so he went out. His brother told me later that he was really upset over a girl, and he had too much to drink and he hit a tree. Wow. Could that have changed? Was it his appointed time? Probably. But what could have changed is maybe could have had another hour or two, day or two, whatever. I really do believe, though, if it's your time and you escape the accident, if it's your time, you're going. But what could have been different is we could have had that talk. It could have been different on my end. He could have left knowing that I really was like super crazy about him, in love, like crazy in love, and I would have known what he was thinking, and I wouldn't have had that guilt after he left. So anyway, long story for just to make a point, it happens all the time with so many different people, whether it be I wish I could have told him or her how I really felt, or I wish I could have said I was sorry, or I wish I never said those words, or whatever the case, or I wish they would have told me what they wanted after they left. It's another thing. Write it down for people. You never know when you're going to go. Don't leave the people behind going, what do you want me to do? So yeah, those are the things, and I didn't mean to take up so much time with that, but while we're still here, let people know. If they mean something to you, let them know. How many people leave this world thinking that they were absolutely alone and no one cared? And then you go to their service and everybody's like, wow, what a great person, blah, blah. How often does that happen? Every day? Okay, so you've lost a loved one. And I don't like to use the term lost, only because Spirit told me one time, why does she say that she lost me? I'm not lost, I'm right here. Ever since then, I catch myself. I'm like, they're not lost, they're right there. But we are missing them. So, okay, so if somebody, I have a few questions I'll start out with. Somebody asked me, is there a specific time limit before you can't, like, before they move on, they're gone, and you can't connect with them anymore? I would have to say no, because I have connected with people that have been gone many, many, many years. I've also connected with people that have been gone less than 24 hours. So I would say there's no time limit on either end. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know why one person can say come through in less than 24 hours and why another person waits 6 months, a year, a week, whatever. I haven't been informed of any rules. However, people do indicate some kind of process in the beginning. Also, several have mentioned, they can't just like do whatever they want. They live within, just like we live within universal laws and laws of physics. They have their own rules, laws, principles. They can't just come through because they want to. They do have to get permission to do it. They have to abide by the rules. In other words, they can't interfere in something that is meant to be a lesson you're supposed to learn. Whatever. I've had people ask me, well, I got in that car accident. Why didn't my loved one tell me that that was going to happen? Or why didn't that loved one tell me that my spouse is out, was going to divorce me, or my house was going to burn, or whatever. There are some things, yeah, people get clues about. There's other things that are nothing's mentioned about it. And I would say that's because just like angels can't interfere in everything, I think it's the same thing with our loved ones. I mentioned this in the last video, but if you didn't watch the last video, I just want to reiterate, people, when they leave their bodies, are still people. It's the spirit of a person. So they don't become angels. They don't become fairies. They don't become any other species, entity, whatever. They remain the spirit of loved ones, okay? When somebody comes through, like to give a message, they're not in the physical realm. It's as if it's like a hologram or like a Skype or a telephone call, something like that. And you might think, well, how can a telephone call let me feel a touch? They don't have the perimeters or the blockages of time and space like we do. It's different, okay? We are more blocked to them than they are to us, but yet they can still stay in there where they're supposed to be. If a spirit is in the physical realm, like hanging out, that's lower vibrational energy. It's not like your loved one. It's not, it would be more of a disembodied spirit or whatever. And that's a whole other subject. Do people get jealous? Do they get angry and upset from where they are on the other side? No. They might tell you, like if they come through in a message, they might tell you they disagree with you about something, or they might give you a heads up about something, a relationship or whatever. They don't feel the negative. They're not here anymore. They're not dealing with that kind of pettiness. They're not dealing with jealousy. They're not dealing with envy. They're not dealing with anger. They live in forgiveness. I've even had murder victims, talk about forgiving their murderer, or whatever. So no, it's not the same there. If you say you're married and your spouse crosses, I've had this question over and over, is my spouse going to be hurt if I meet someone else? Absolutely not. Your spouse wants you to be happy. And you're still in this physical realm. Leading to that is the next question I had. Somebody asked me, well, what about him? Is he going to meet somebody else in the spirit realm? And when I get there, he'll be with her? No, it's not like that anymore. Okay? It's not. I'm not saying that love doesn't happen. But no, when you're connected and bound here, you get there, he'll be waiting for you. He hasn't gone off and met somebody else. It's a different realm. Our thoughts are higher, okay? So no, that doesn't happen. Should I use a Ouija board? No. 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 Don't use a Ouija board. Don't use cards. Don't use a pendulum. Don't use anything. I know you're like, what? What are you talking about? You're a medium. I am. I didn't ask to be, and I don't try to be. Okay? When I say this, I'm not saying don't talk to your loved ones, but don't try to get questions answered. Don't try to reach out. You know what's going to happen if you do that? You could get an answer, and you could be fooled. But not only that, and that welcomes in a whole world of, you'll be sorry. And it doesn't start initially. Initially, you might start off good. And then 5 years down the line, you're like, why am I so miserable? And why is all this chaos in my life? Because you invited it in and didn't even know it. Okay, so no. Okay, that's one reason. The other thing that'll happen, your obsession will become stronger. So you've already got this obsession. You are desperate to talk to your loved one. You start playing around with cards or pendulum or Ouija boards or whatever. Don't use any tool. Okay, Ouija boards, never, never, never. Anything else that you might use on a daily basis, don't use those for this either. Because what you're doing, like I said, you're inviting something else in. And your obsession will only grow stronger. You'll find, like, oh, good, I got my answers. It's not like, oh, good, I'm at peace now. You're going to find, oh, I want more answers. I want more answers. I want more answers. It's because it's not your loved one answering them. You're being fooled, okay? So please, please, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Even, like I said, I was born this way. It's a gift. I don't call on anybody. I have lost the loved ones that I would love to talk to. I don't call upon them. When somebody calls me for something, I don't call upon anybody. I would rather tell somebody nobody's coming in, I hear nothing, than to give them false information or to try to connect and get something negative that's going to stick to me and or them, okay? And I'm sorry if I just went off track a little bit. So don't do that. Please don't do that. It's hard. It's hard when somebody goes, and I know you want to talk with them. So, don't use a Ouija board. Don't use any kind of tool to initiate contact. One thing you can do though is, talk to them. Just like, so now you take it as a blessing, and I know you're like, great blessing, but really you no longer have the restraints of space and time, right? So you can just talk to them as if they're right there with you. You can say something like, hey, could you please give me a sign that you're okay? Or, if you are a person of faith, you could say, hey, God, is it okay? Could you please, if you'll allow it, could you please tell my loved one that I need a message or some kind of sign? I apologize about my dogs. They're working on the roof outside, and the dogs keep thinking someone's at the door. Sorry about that. So that is okay to do. It's not like you're calling upon them and, having a seance or something like that, but just talk to them. Hey, I love you. Hey, I miss you. I do that. I do that a lot. Hey, I'm going to be talking to somebody who can hear spirit. If you're going to be making an appointment with someone like me, do you mind if you can come through and give a message? One thing, if you're going to see someone like me, a couple different things. First of all, you'll know them by their fruits. Don't go to somebody who's dark, please. If somebody claims that they can, just they have a direct line. Hey, you want to talk to Uncle Johnny? Ring, ring. Hey, Uncle Johnny's right here. That person is either lying to you or they're being lied to themselves. So just kind of do a little research, okay? Still put a protective shield around yourself. Say a prayer. Ask Spirit, is this the right person for me to talk to? You'll be led in the right direction. And, say a prayer before you do that actual talk. You can connect with your loved ones easier than I can. I don't know them. So if you put it out there and you're like, hey, I'm going to be talking to this woman who can hear you. Can you come through? And people might say, well, aren't you the equivalent to a Ouija board? In a sense, you could say that. That's why I won't even attempt to reach out to a specific person, because I don't want to become like a human Ouija board and be fooled that way, okay? So I just stay open. My messages can be wrong. I can misinterpret stuff, but Spirit's not wrong, okay? And you know what? I pray before I do everything. I found that if I don't pray, I can be fooled. I have been fooled. Very rarely, but there have been a few instances where I find out later that, yeah, I've been fooled. Or, I'm constantly working in the spirit realm, so I'm constantly having to put up a shield of protection. Because there are, whether people want to believe it or not, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly over there. Just like there is here, but they're more powerful. Anyway, that's video 3. So that's one thing you can do is talk to them, okay? Pay attention to what's going on. A lot of times, especially when somebody initially crosses over and they haven't quite acclimated to what they can do, where they are, what they're doing, The signs are small. Now I don't know if that is because they haven't acclimated and they don't know, or if it's us. Like if the barrier that we are living under is too thick to break. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But initially, usually the signs are small. Smell. The sense of smell is our most sensitive sense, and um, it's connected to our memory. So many times, spirit will use smell. You might be walking in a room, and all of a sudden, there's the smell of my daddy, or um, you smell cigarettes. Nobody around you smokes, but that person who does smoke, or did smoke. Sometimes you'll smell the medicine, you know. People have a different scent. Everybody has their own scent. You might smell that. You might be laying in bed and you might feel like the bed move. You might feel like somebody touching you. Again, just like I said in the last video, if it's at the base of your neck, it's not your loved one, and it's not an angel. Okay, put yourself in protection or call somebody to help you with that. Um, but they may touch you. You may feel like somebody actually touched you, held your hand. Music. A lot of times they talk through music, their favorite song or whatever. And you can ask for confirmation. You can be like, okay, yeah, especially if it's not like a common song that's played a lot. And all of a sudden you hear it. And you go, okay, all right, if that was you, could you confirm that was you? God, could you confirm that was my loved one? However you want to do it. And you're going to hear that song again, or somebody's going to talk about that song. They come through other people sometimes. You know, certain people have like certain expressions that they say a lot. Sometimes your loved one will have you hear that expression through other people like 7 times in a day, you know. Um, Smell is a strong one. Sometimes they'll come through in dreams. Um, Sorry, my phone cut off. So if you get any of those things, even though they may seem minor, um, gratitude and acknowledge and gratitude, express gratitude. Those two things seem to give them the ability to give you more. So even though they're just small and you're like, was that just in my head? Still acknowledge it and say, well, either I'm crazy or that was you, and I hope it was you. Thank you. You know, that will make them, it's like it gives them the right or the power to give you more. Another thing is the more uh, upset up obsessed you are about it, the more you're like, I need to hear from them. Or if your grief is just so heavy, you really need to work on that. Go see someone, talk to someone, do whatever it takes. Be good to yourself, you know. Pennies from heaven, that's another one. They do send pennies from heaven. Electricity, the lights can blink. Smell, touch, I already covered those. But yeah, use gratitude, but you can actually block them. Okay, you will block them out by wanting it too desperately. So it's really important that you come to a place where you go, okay, God, you can tell them, hey, I'm grieving bad, but I really want to talk to you, and try to let it go. One way to let go of the obsession is by knowing that the other side exists, that they can communicate with you, that their love does not die, and kind of get to a place where you're like, okay, all right, I believe that. Talk to someone if you have to. Um, Talking to someone like me can help sometimes. I'm not pushing for myself. Talking to a grief counselor or a therapist. I'm a grief counselor, not a therapist. Taking care of yourself, taking the time that you need. Acknowledge that you're upset. Don't stuff it. Um, Grief can affect you physically as well, just so you know. It can make you extremely tired. It can make you irritable. It can make you, um, it can trigger like binge eating or other eating disorders, anorexia or bulimia. Um, it can trigger mental illness. Um, it can trigger any kind of mental illness. you can have like hallucinations and stuff if you've had any kind of schizophrenia or schizoid symptoms. Um, you know what? There's even such a thing as broken heart syndrome. We've heard of that over and over with couples that have been married for 60 years, and one spouse goes, and then 2 months later, 6 months later, the other one dies of a broken heart. I mean, that's a legitimate thing. It can happen. Take care of yourself. Do your best to take care of you. I like to call it like, oh, go, there it goes again, forgetting stuff. But honor living, basically. Like, if you can't do it for you, if you're too grief stricken to do it for you, do it for them. Take care of yourself in honor of that person. And if you feel really stuck, like if you really feel stuck, reach out to someone. You know, if you're in a really dark place and obsessed, it might not be a good idea to reach out to someone like me, because you may be feeding the cycle of obsession. Or maybe it will. It depends. I can't say. But like I said, if you do decide to reach out to a medium, please do your research. Okay? Don't be gullible just because it's something you want. And know that even then, that person may or may not come through. That's up to God. Okay? I hope this helped you guys a little bit. I have to cut this short because I can't tell you how many times I've had trouble with this video. Part 3 is going to be about hauntings and attacks and possession and that kind of stuff. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon. My next video, I think, is going to be on the full moon and that kind of stuff. Thanks for joining me. I know it's a long video. I want to, you know what I want to do too, if they'll let me, is bring you, I want to share some stories about haunted places and stuff that I've been, if I can get the permission from the owners, and maybe bring you along on some of those. Wouldn't that be fun? Tell me if you think that'd be fun. All right. Talk to you guys soon. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back.